up, everybody? Got another package this week. This is going to be the next part in our weight saving series with the 87 notch here. Been waiting for this for a couple weeks. It was a Black Friday deal sent from Codion. It's a tube front end. Been shopping around for quite a while, actually probably about a year now. Really was hesitant to chop up the front end of the car, but trying to shave down weight, try to go a little faster. So let's open up and see what we got in here. So we first got it laid out here. I went with the pre-welded kit. There's still some welding involved, but for me, having it built on a jig, making sure that all the angles are right and the time savings definitely was worth something for me. Let's pre-assemble it just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, and we'll get right back here. All right, so we got the unit pre-assembled, just loosely bolted together here just to kind of get our feet wet, figure out what's going on. Nice thing with the Codion kit is it's got these flanges. I was between Team Z and this one. This guy won. I don't know, it's got a headlight header panel bar pre-made. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but I do like the fact that the front end's detachable and the bottom's detachable. Will make, you know, pulling the engine a little bit easier in the event that I need to, and just a little bit more modular design. If you look at the welds, they're definitely TIG welded. I have no complaints there. Overall structure design is kind of nice. I have a forward-facing turbo on my car. I was a little worried about this corner here, but it looks like we should have plenty of room, and obviously open up the engine bay quite a bit. So now that's left is start pulling it apart. I will pretense I took some measurements, wrote them down so I know the distance between the firewall and the front bumper supports, the widths between the fenders in different spots, and then I also know a couple other just miscellaneous things that I wrote down that I may need. This is a hold and weld kit, so hopefully everything should line up, but at least I have some reference points, so if for some reason I got to get back, we'll figure it out. All right, so that went relatively easy. One thing that I'd like to point out that I did that maybe others can use the idea. FOXBODY guys, bumpers come off quite a bit. I actually made this, I think it's 12 pin, or no, it's 8-pin connector. That actually goes in a loom that, second here, you'll see, does all my headlights, turn signals, marker lights. One connection, harness stays on, front bumper comes off. So anybody's looking for kind of a neat electrical project, I highly suggest it. You saw how quickly that was. I don't have to unplug anything, and now we got the front end off. Alright, so now we got both fenders off. You can see the car is just very basic. I mean, it works for what it is. We got some strange 10-way shocks up front, basic coilovers, obviously air-to-air intercooler, small little 66 Mustang radiator, forced inductions turbo, and of course, iron block 5.3. To complete this, we're gonna have to cut, obviously right there and there, right at the shock towers, but if you can see right now, I have the radiators mounted to the core support. We have the overflow tanks going to get moved. I have my MAC valves over there that are going to have to get relocated. The intercooler right now is welded to the Motion Raceworks lower radiator mount, and then you know, we'll have to basically fab up all that, make some new tabs for the fenders, and you know, try to get everything laid out. Alright, so we got the front end pretty well disassembled. Radiator intercooler's gone. I made my top bar detachable for engine installation and removal with the stock sheet metal. Got rid of my Mac valves, the horn's gone. I had some plugs in there. Next thing we're going to do is cover up the engine, and then we're going to probably start cutting here. Alright, so one thing I'll note, the instructions said on this side, which is the driver's, they had a final cut at about 15 3/4. So I made a mark at 16 there. The passenger side, they said it's about 16 inches. I have a mark there, but I'm going to go a little bit away from that. So we're going to cut a little bit more conservative, and then we're going to pull it back in. Same with the top and the shock towers. It's slightly unclear. Obviously, it's going to need to line up to the frame, or I guess the top of this here. So we're going to cut probably further back, and then we're going to make a couple iterations to get closer. Rather take a little less off and have more that I could take off versus take too much and then you're screwed. So let's cover up the engine here, and we'll get started. Alright, so we're all covered up. This is just a safety thing there. I don't want any crap getting in the engine. I've already blocked off any openings, but obviously this is going to make some shavings, and for the sake of just keeping things clean, that's where we're at. We got our rough cut marks on the frame there. Same with the top. Codion doesn't really give a good reference there, but I know like Team Z cut somewhere along this line. I actually have a couple marks from the original fenders, so we're probably just going to cut a little bit further away, and then we'll start pulling back and try to get closer. So there's no going back now. We got one side cut. I think we're gonna have probably about 1/2 inch to take off here, maybe 1/4 or so down there, but halfway there. All right, just like that. Should be able to just pull this guy away. After that is, I already know what's stuck. Got a little zip tie down here for my O2 sensor. Give that a nip. Make sure we don't scoop the wiring. Now that that's free, put this over here. And that's all she wrote. Now we're really looking like a no prep car. I already had a Motion Raceworks lower radiator support, so obviously I lost some of the sheet metal of that, but you know, if you can look at the tube front end sitting here in comparison to what we just cut off, you know, you have these double walled areas of sheet metal, the frame rails. Obviously a lot of it is closed off. So we're going to probably just try to loosely clamp the front end to the car just to see, you know, kind of what we're working with, and then hopefully there's no catastrophes that we find here. I got it clamped on just on the bottom there because obviously it lines up a little bit nice in the notched frame rail. Gonna have to do a little bit of trimming, but overall fitment so far is quite nice. I was worried about my turbo placement because it kind of wrapped around the frame rail on the factory ones, but as I was hoping, looks like we got some more room there than we did previously. We're gonna have to obviously cut a little bit more on the shock towers, get it flush, but so far this is looking real good. So we'll probably take a break here for today and get back on it. But you know, again, for anybody that's doing this in their garage, you know, so far all I've used is some basic tools for disassembly, my Walmart Sawzall, and you know, we're to this point. All right, so it's the next day. Give a quick update. I got everything kind of clamped in. You can see I've ground away the bare finish of the metal. We got things pretty well squared away. My buddy PJ is going to come by. He can weld much better than I can, so he's going to give me a little bit of help here. We got to do a little bit more trimming on this side, but overall everything's coming together pretty decent. We're gonna have to get the car level, and then once it's level, we'll burn it in. Alright, so what we were able to do is, with the jig, using some ratchet straps, a bunch of techniques, we were able to get the x-axis at 0 degrees, so that way we know that from left to right, we're parallel to the ground. On the flip side, the y-axis, so this is up and down, we're also at 0, which is going to be level. So now, with that all in, we know that from left to right, we're level, and from front to back, we're level. So from here, we could get this thing burned in. Alright, just taking a quick break here. We got tack welds on this side. We got the top and the bottom plate. Same on the other. Alright, so I missed some of the cleanup, but we were able to finish the welding. Give everybody a quick look here. So obviously everything lined up really nice. It took a little finagling, but the plates and everything, they fit up super close. You know, fit and function, I think this is going to work out really well. We have to mount the intercooler, redo the radiator, some fender tabs. Just so you guys know, the kit comes with a bunch of miscellaneous tabs here. We're probably going to use, obviously, a lot of that. I already got one of the fenders just kind of loosely on, but what we got to do is add the additional mounting tabs in order to get the front bumper and the fenders mounted. Obviously, the kit doesn't have anything off the bat, so we're going to hang the fenders loosely, try to get the bumper on loosely, and then figure out where we're going to put some tabs and try to get it hung up here. Alright, so both fenders are loosely, or I guess snugly bolted on right now. What we're looking for is making sure that the gaps all make sense. Obviously there's adjustability. A lot of the holes are slotted. But you want to make sure that it's even, and you know, both the side and the tops, and then the actual surface is flush. The other one you got to do is make sure that the doors open, they don't catch. So right now we're pretty good. What I will tell you, what I did to make things a little bit easier on myself, is before I actually cut the front end off, I actually traced along the fender line on the shock tower. So I actually know that these are exactly how they were lined up prior to cutting the front end off. So we're gonna try to hang the bumper. I might have to support it with a jack, but once we get that on there, we can make sure that everything's kind of at the right height, and then we can mark where we're gonna put some tabs for the fenders to mount. We're on into our first snag here. On the original bumper, there's these little alignment pieces. Seems like I might have to cut those off, so we're gonna kind of finagle with it a little bit here and see if we can get it, but right now it's kind of looking like that might be an issue for us. So we just cut the tabs off. Kind of annoyed by that, but not a big deal, because in the grand scheme of things, we've already cut the whole front end off. So let's see if it'll fit up here for us now. Alright guys, after a few on and offs, finally got the bumper on. There might be a little bit of gap, but there's only maybe 1 or 2 bolts on each side just loosely holding it up here. You know, again, this is just trying to get the general fitment on, and you know, we'll obviously be able to make adjustments later. Most of the holes are slotted, so you know, again, there's a little bit of forgiveness there. For anybody else who has this kit, just to be aware, on my factory front bumper, I had to trim this corner off. This side actually had a little bit of room, so again, I don't know if it's something to do with the way the jig is, how they make it. You can see that the bolt is touching on the headlight there. I had to cut the stud. You kind of see the stud here on this one. I do that on both sides. This one's actually even tighter, but overall fitment's really good. I think what we're gonna do is we have these tabs. I'm going to actually bolt them to the bumper, and then we'll tack weld them into place. So that will at least take care of that. I will say I'm very actually impressed with that, with this kit, because I thought that the fabrication on that was going to be a little bit harder. But you know, again, every once in a while you throw a dog a bone. We're going to get those bolted in, and then I'm probably just going to tack weld these guys on, so at least we have the front end, and then we'll work our way up in the fenders here. The fender tabs, I think, are these guys. They're slotted. These are gonna go somewhere along here, weld them to the bar, and then go to that factory mounting hole. You know, again, they seem like they're pretty close. I might have to do a little bit of finagling, but overall not bad. Might do a little welding here, get this kind of at least temporarily set up. We'll tack it, and then we'll see where we're at. Alright, just to show you guys what I did. Tack welded on the back on this one, and then because of the turbo and the bumper being on, we put a quick tack weld there and there on the front. I'll pull this bar off, and then we can do the final weld. Don't want to mess up the paint or anything on the car, but this, at least for the front bumper tabs, bumper's pretty rigid now. Obviously the bar is removable, which is quite nice. So next we're going to do the front fender brackets. So using these guys, I think this is going to be really easy. You know, right now, front bumper's bolted on, the fenders are bolted on, gaps are at least acceptable. So this is slotted, so there's a lot of adjustability there. So basically I'm just going to try to target probably about in the middle, and then I'm going to clamp the tab to the tube, and then we're just going to weld it on. We'll spot weld it for now just to make sure that things line up, but should be pretty straightforward, I hope. Alright guys, we got the 2 tabs welded up. I just did a quick tack, and then I ended up doing a cross pass because obviously things aren't going to move, and I just wanted to get them done. We'll put bolts in here. Obviously it's just sitting right now, but pretty confident that everything is going to line up the way it needs to. But fenders are on, front bumper's on. Next we got to go back, get the intercooler, work on the piping for that. So we're getting there. If you're just doing a tube front end on a normal car, this would be the end of that. So we'll probably end this video here, and then from there, when we start doing the intercooler and all the cold side piping that I got to redo, we'll take a peek at that and see how we go.